Starboard Value has reportedly built a stake in News Corp and plans to push for strategic and governance changes, including urging News Corp to collapse its dual-class share structure, which gives the Murdoch family voting power in excess of their economic ownership. For more, let's bring in our own Julia Boorstin, CNBC senior media and entertainment correspondent, and CNBC.com media and tech reporter Alex Sherman. Welcome to you both. It's not just because I used to work there, Julia. I said, wow, this is big. You think they're actually going to be able to push for change here?
Look, there's very little incentive for a family that controls the voting shares or a large percentage of those voting shares, about 40%, I believe, to give that up. I think what this really might lead to, though, is a push to split up this company that has a lot of strength in the real estate data business. News Corp, among other things, owns the parent company to Realtor.com, but then also to split that up from the news part of the business. So I think what this really will come down to is advocating for a division of these assets into the real estate and the news piece of this separately.
Alex, do you see it that way? And then let me complicate matters by saying that there is obviously this other part of the Murdoch empire, and that is called Fox. How does that, if in any way, affect this?
It strikes me as a little bit of a strange time for Starboard to be doing this. I mean, this plan of splitting up the news divisions from the real estate divisions, that playbook has already been run once by an activist last year. Irena Capital pushed for that and other, more potentially more significant changes. But at that point, News Corp's value was significantly lower. So to me, the odd thing is the timing on this. If you just take a look at News Corp stock in the past year or so, it's up several $1 billion of market cap. So you do wonder why Starboard is choosing now to do this. Perhaps they should have pushed for it a year ago, and then maybe they would have had a little bit more oomph with another activist there to get this done.
Well,
sure.
I think the clear reason it's happening now is because Rupert Murdoch has said that he's stepping down from his role as chairman. So that news just came out last month. Of course, it's not a surprise. He's in his 90s, but I think it could note not just a transition of full power from him to his son, Lachlan Murdoch, but also potentially an opportunity for more change and shakeup. So I would really point to that as something that's maybe kicking off an opportunity for Starboard, if you will.
Just to add to what Julia said, if you remember turning back the clock a year ago, at that point, the Murdoch family was toying with the idea of bringing together Fox and News Corp, getting to your point, Tyler. That idea now has sort of been tossed out the window. So we may be kind of rerunning the playbook again because Plan A didn't work. So now activists are thinking about what's Plan B here. The point, though, that Julia mentioned earlier about how to get a dual-class share company, a family-controlled company, to do anything, is I think, very much in question. We've seen it a few times recently. We saw Third Point try to do it with Campbell Soup somewhat successfully. Value Act, which took a stake in maybe the closest comparison to News Corp last year in the New York Times. So it has been done where activists jump in to these controlled companies. But the question remains that they can only do so much when the family controls 40% or so of the voting share.
So, yeah, Julia, I'll jump in on your point there. I mean, this feels to me like the first fastball that Lachlan Murdoch is going to face. I mean, it feels like right up under the chin, brother. Here we come. Let's see how you respond here. Now, his father's he may be stepping back, but he's not gone. Let's talk about that dual shareholder issue here. Because as I understand it, Julia, isn't it true that a lot of media companies have that, including maybe even our own, have dual-class shareholdings?
Yes, and absolutely. If you look at Paramount, that's a company that's effectively controlled by Sherry Redstone. She's the one, and National Amusements, her company, gets to decide what happens with the future of that company. We always speculate about Paramount maybe being up for some of this media M&A that we've talked about so much, but the reality is that she gets to decide whether that happens or not. I would say Lachlan Murdoch is going to face a lot of challenges. On one hand, you have already seen the digital transformation of this business. News Corp just in the past year, for the first time ever, showed over 50% of its revenue really coming from digital. And so that was a momentous tipping point for this company. But at the same time, he has to continue the digital transformation of the news business and figure out whether it makes sense to have it be combined with the real estate business or whether they're different
Can we put up a chart of Fox and compare it over the last year to News Corp, if possible? Because my sense is probably Fox hasn't done nearly as well. Can we do that?
So I think this gets to your question earlier, Tyler, about how does Fox play into this. Largely speaking, there's not going to be any major transformative news with either of these companies, I think, until Rupert Murdoch passes away. I mean, that's going to be the real catalyst in terms of family dynamics, who's running these companies. Yeah, we may see a split of the real estate division here at News Corp from the news, but in terms of like, what is Fox News going to be in the future? Who's going to run that company? Are they going to sell the company? Will they sell the Wall Street Journal? All of those questions, it strikes me, is more of a post-Rupert Murdoch question. While he's still here, yeah, he's not the chairman anymore, executive chairman, but he is still alive. He is still, he's not going anywhere, he said a few weeks ago. So it strikes me as that is the more likely catalyst rather than the Starboard stake. Well,
that is certainly the succession moment.
Isn't it?
And Brian Cox will be there.